Combs, Harris, and Allen belonged to the 88 Avalon Garden Crips AGC, a gang based near the Avalon Gardens public housing projects in Los Angeles. All three were friends with McNeil, a fellow member of the AGC. At the time of the crimes in question, the AGC's main rival were the 87 Gangster Crips, which claims an area just west of the AGC's territory. Several years earlier, McNeil had been struck in his hand by a bullet, and his fellow gang member and best friend, Kurt Kirby, was killed in McNeil's presence. McNeil believed Ken, a member of the rival 87 Gangster Crips, had perpetrated the homicide. McNeil later memorialized Kirby by getting a tattoo near his right eye, the teardrop and the letters IS, which stood for Kirby's nickname, Infant Solo. McNeil and his fellow gang members vowed retaliation for Kirby's death. On October 25, 2014, McNeil and Combs told Harris that Ken was at Roscoe's House of Chicken and Waffles, a restaurant in rival 87 Gangster Crips territory. McNeil and Combs picked up guns at an associate's house, and Harris then drove McNeil, Combs, and Allen in his SUV to Roscoe's. They arrived at Roscoe's, but Ken was not there. They continued driving in 87 Gangster Crips territory until they spotted a Monte Carlo near 88th Place and Wall Street. Oquin drove the Monte Carlo, while Bernardez sat in the front passenger seat. Bernardez had actually observed the SUV moments before and told Oquin that it looked like some Avalons inside the SUV. Oquin, traveling northbound on Wall Street, stopped at the intersection of 88th Place and Wall Street. Harris's SUV, just past the intersection, faced eastbound on 88th Place. McNeil and Combs exited the SUV and began firing at the Monte Carlo. McNeil stood in front of Combs and fired a single shot from his .357 caliber revolver. Combs fired 15 shots, one of which fatally struck McNeil in the back of the head. The bullet entered the back of McNeil's head and exited at a slightly higher level through his forehead. McNeil collapsed to the ground. Oquin sped away as McNeil and Combs fired at the Monte Carlo, while Bernardez ducked in his seat. Several bullets struck the passenger side of the Monte Carlo, blew out a tire, and shattered the side and rear windows. Combs got back into the SUV and fled with Harris and Allen. After driving for several blocks, Oquin abandoned the Monte Carlo near 87th Street and Broadway. A friend then picked up Oquin and Bernardez, and they left the area. McNeil's mother, Waldine Bowling, lived in the Avalon Gardens housing projects. She had known Combs his entire life and had known Harris and Allen for about 7 years. Combs and McNeil were close friends. Around the time of McNeil's funeral, Harris approached Bowling as she walked home. Harris said he wanted to tell Bowling what happened to her son, recognizing he could get killed for talking to her. Harris said that before the shooting, both McNeil and Combs told him that Ken was at Roscoe's. Soon after that, Harris drove McNeil, Combs, and Allen in his SUV to Roscoe's in order to find Ken. McNeil and Combs were armed with handguns they had retrieved from a friend's house just before leaving in Harris's SUV. When they arrived at Roscoe's and learned that Ken was not there, they drove to 88th Place and Wall Street, where they spotted the Monte Carlo. McNeil and Combs exited the SUV and fired at the Monte Carlo. Harris sped away but came back after the shooting to pick up Combs. When Combs got inside the SUV, Harris saw McNeil lying motionless on the ground. Combs told Harris that Termite, Bernardez, was shooting at them. Harris drove away from the location. Harris had Combs and Allen get out of his SUV before arriving at Avalon Gardens, so that neither Officer Jesse Pineda nor people in the projects would know they were together.